In his book Ion, Jung presents a groundbreaking idea. He says that Christ represents the archetype of the self. Now, this means that Western people's understanding of the self has shifted from a religious projection to being part of the human mind. Human consciousness has found the archetype that creates religion, with Christ being one example. Now let's look at some evidences which shows that Christ represents the self archetype. The traits linked to Christ match the characteristics of the self observed in psychology. For instance, Christ is seen as a central source, saying, "I am the vine, you are the branches," which is a symbol of the self. He is also the union of opposites, saying, "I am the Alpha and Omega, and the beginning and the end." The numbers 4 and 12 are often linked with the self and are also connected to Christ. He is surrounded by 12 disciples, like the 12 signs of the zodiac, and the cross has 4 parts. Christ is often shown in the center of Christian symbols, with the 4 evangelists around him. Various symbols of heaven are almost the same as the images of Christ. In his essay, A Psychological Approach to the Dogma of the Trinity, Jung writes that important symbols about Christ includes those showing the hero's life, unusual origin, divine father, risky birth, miraculous deeds, tragic early end, and post-death effects like resurrection. Christ represents an all-embracing totality, symbolizing the integration of the Old Testament kings and prophets. His body is the bread to be eaten, and his blood is wine to be drunk. These mythological statements outline an archetype found in individual dreams and fantasies, showing an overpowering, complete being represented by a heroic man, magical creature, or mandala. This archetype reflects an individual's wholeness or self. The self archetype can also be seen as the image of God in the human mind, the Imago Dei. Jung quotes texts related to Christ as the Imago Dei, starting with Genesis, where God says, "Let us make man in our own image." This shows that humans have an Imago Dei, which was damaged by the fall of man. Jung writes that God image in man was damaged by the fall, but can be restored through God's grace. This is shown by Christ's descent to hell after his death, symbolizing the integration of the collective unconscious in the individuation process. According to the Bible, Christ descended into hell and rescued the souls there, bringing them to the upper realm. Jung sees this as a symbol of individuation, involving the rescue and restoration of lost parts of the unconscious. So Jung comes to this conclusion that the damaged God image can be reformed with God's help. The images of wholeness produced during individuation are similar reformations of an inherent archetype. Psychology shows that there is always an archetype of wholeness, which may be hidden until recognized by an enlightened consciousness, restoring the original oneness with the God image.